And we're back. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Theory of Anything podcast. Before we get into it today, I wanted to take a minute to tell you. If you're enjoying our podcast, if you're entertained by our sometimes nonsensical debauchery, invite your family, invite your friends to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and YouTube. We're not staying on YouTube for long, but the more people we get listening, the more feedback we get, the better we'll get at making each episode and bringing you a better listening experience. If you'd like to send us a question for the Ask Anything segment of our show, it could be a serious question or whatever random thought you have, send those in to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Theory of Anything Podcast. You could also send it to our Twitter page, which is at ToA Podcast. And you could also send it to our email, which is theoryofanythingpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please leave your name and where you're from, and we'll answer and discuss your question. But anyway, thanks for listening today. Thanks for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's kind of all over the place. We talk about aliens, we talk about ancient civilizations, the pyramids, religion, just all over the place. But again, like and follow our Facebook page, follow our Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly episodes. Let's get it started. So what is this about neckbeards?
Well, how's your neck beard?
It's getting really itchy. With this No Shave November, it's getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is. I've noticed people, it's some kind of weird hillbilly trend. But they'll take and they'll shave their face, but then leave the part of the beard that's on the neck.
The most uncomfortable part. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know why you would do that, but I've seen it more and more these days, and I find it very odd.
How did we get to this topic?
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I was bitching about Hanzo players in Overwatch, and I called them a bunch of virgin neckbeards sitting in their mother's basement, getting their inner fucking weeaboo on. I'm Japanese now. No, you're fucking not. You are fucking not.
Yeah. Hanzo and Genji players.
I don't mind the Genji so much anymore. I mean, unless they suck and they're on my team, but...
By the way, no one has a fucking clue what we're talking about.
I don't know, man. Overwatch is pretty popular. It's... How many sales does it have? I mean, we don't have to look at a hard number here, but it's pretty popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I know quite a few people that have at least played it, or you can call it their favorite FPS, so... Probably people do know what we're talking about.
Until they get hit by Hanzo's scatter arrow and quit the game.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth quitting the game over, but...
Oh, there's at least one person that's done that. They're like, fuck this game, going to Call of Duty.
I'm just gonna start playing Winston every time they have one and just dive on the asshole.
I guess. Oh, man. We're already on a tangent, Jonathan.
Is it really a tangent if we start there?
I don't know. Thought-provoking question.
I mean, usually a tangent is a divergence from your main topic of discussion.
We had planned this episode to talk about aliens, so to get to Overwatch, yeah. Anyway.
So now we need to tangent back to the main topic.
Oh, fuck. Segways are weird.
I'd like to ride one. They look cool.
Not that Segway, dumbass.
Alright, so you're one to talk about illegal immigration, right?
No, wrong alien.
Fuck. Well, I gotta throw away all my notes, dude.
I think that's twice now you've prepared for the wrong thing. If you've ever prepared at all.
Very minimal preparation.
Yeah.
I mean...
I think it comes through for both of us.
You've known me a long time. I don't prep for shit.
See how we're dancing over this topic?
Well, have you ever had an anal probe?
They're not all anal probes.
I thought that's what they did. I thought they, stuck stuff up your butt. They pull you off the planet and they stick shit up your ass. So I guess that's the best way to figure out what we're about.
Well, as we said in the episode we just released today, actually, that actually has an origin. It's not just the pilot episode of South Park. I think it came from what's being called the first alien abduction claim, which is the widely famous Betty and Barney Hill abduction. This was back in the 50s or the 60s. I think it was the early 60s. But if I remember correctly, Barney said that they, in much more words, they probed his ass. As far as the motivations or the reason, I don't think he ever said, but I think that's where it came from, and now that's all aliens do, is probe your ass.
Now, are we sure he didn't just wake up from a night of too much whiskey with a sore asshole and try to blame it on aliens?
Well, see, that's the really compelling thing about the Betty and Barney Hill case, is that, first of all, it was the first one. At least the first one that's known. But as the story goes, they were driving down a road together, and they saw a light that was appearing to be following them as they were driving. And the light was getting closer and closer, and before they knew it, the light was, I guess, basically above them. And after that, they woke up in their car with time missing. Like it was several hours later. And under hypnosis, they underwent hypnosis to try to figure out what happened. That's where they give their abduction story. And the compelling thing about that is that they had very similar, if not identical, stories. And they did this interview separately. So something happened. It's not just one person or the other getting drunk or high or whatever and having some sort of dream about something. You know what I mean? There's something there, it seems.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to dig in really hard and try to find some sort of debunking there, but I don't really want to right now to try to debunk that.
Well, no, surely you have some sort of an opinion on abductions as a whole.
I think it's some sort of mass delusion myself. I think it's a specific type of lucid dream or time-losing phenomena. I think there's some sort of more rational explanation. Because why did it begin in the Americas in the 1950s after Roswell? Why does it not predate kind of the whole alien thing coming into the human consciousness? If they've been doing this, they've probably been doing it for a while. And my opinion of aliens, I hold the belief that with the size of the galaxy, the universe, etc., it's almost certain that life has evolved somewhere else. But
they're not here.
They're not here, and I don't believe that they've massively interfered with human civilization over the years. I don't think they built the fucking pyramids. I don't think any of that.
Hold on a minute. I mean, you're talking about a particular type of abduction story. You're saying all the abduction stories post Roswell, which was, for anyone that doesn't know, that happened back in July of 1947. And certainly around that time, there was a lot of unexplained events, but I think a majority of that was just the military doing experimental projects. But I think the Betty and Barney Hill story was probably the first abduction story as we see them today. I mean, you could go back to, I guess I can open this door. You could go back to biblical times. And
so we're going for things we know are fiction.
Okay, but see, that's but we have to I guess identify what is fiction and how is it fiction, I guess.
Yeah, because the Bible actually is like a really big blend of some history and then some fiction and then some well, some what the fuck, really, but...
Well, my biggest thing as far as, I guess, aliens in the Bible, you know, that ancient astronaut theory, which is briefly became pretty mainstream with that TV show. But my personal thought with it is the way that these entities, I'll call them, were described in the Bible are probably the best way they knew how to describe them at that time. You know, they talk about chariots of fire and or chariot's wheel and things like that. The throne of God is descending from the sky. You know, things like that. And it's not just the Bible. I mean, this is across many different religions where they give their own interpretations of probably the same thing, whatever it is. But you got to understand, there's no way they can understand that form of technology if that's what it was. I mean, even today, we call a UFO a flying saucer. We literally call it a fucking plate for your coffee mug that flies. Okay? We're no better than the people calling it flaming shields, chariots of fire, anything like that. It's just the best we know how to describe it. So if we are actually seeing something, we could sort of play it off as, oh, it's military experiments, things like that. But if they're seeing something similar way back then what could it be?
I mean, I don't really know. I guess I would have to see it with my eyes. Well, it's such a thing that, you know, it comes into our consciousness, right? And all of a sudden, the stories are everywhere. But those stories of actual, like, abduction, I mean, I know what you're talking about with Ezekiel, and
it's not just Ezekiel, but yeah.
But you don't really hear abduction stories from 1923. You don't really hear of this level of alien presence. And of course, that you could go the other way and say that, oh, well, that's when they showed up. You know, something about us with nuclear weapons attracting their attention.
That's something I've always wondered is why would they care?
I've wondered that myself. You know, why would they care about this little blue planet in this particular solar system? I mean, I guess we would do that if we found life somewhere else. We would try to examine it or investigate it or conquer it.
I mean, we've done that in the past. We've, of course, the conquering thing, but we've also found, like, these tribal, you know, villages in the Amazon jungles, you know, things like that, the Congo, whatever it is. And we just observe. Sometimes we go in and try to communicate. We give them gifts. And I can't remember which village it was or which group of people it was, but the people that went over there and gave them, you know, clothes, food, you know, different things. They actually worship those people as gods.
Yeah, they're called cargo cults. That's a pretty fascinating little phenomenon there, because it happened with a few different tribes that developed similar beliefs. They even had a messianic belief that person would return,
right,
with more at a certain point. And that's pretty fascinating how a belief like that evolved very quickly.
Right. So, I mean, that opens up another question. Like, was it aliens that did the same to us, or was it some sort of advanced lost civilization that did it way back in the ancient history of time?
Or is the standard narrative of human history correct, and we're just looking back and trying to place explanations where they don't belong to explain things that we don't understand?
Yeah, but you're also taking into account these written down stories. These stories that were written down by the people who experienced it, allegedly.
I was going to say, people write down a lot of bullshit, man.
Today, back then, you know, there was time back then that the only things that were written down were important information. Like, they didn't write down fictional stories.
They did take the time to write down things like that if you were wearing 2 different types of fabric in your clothing, you should be stoned to death.
There lies the weirdness that is the Christian Bible. I mean, those type of things, I think they have some form of an origin to them, like the whole eat pork because of the, what is it called? I'm blanking on the word.
Trigonosis.
Yeah, trigonosis. You can't eat shrimp because of the what is it, the red algae, whatever. I wish I had the information in front of me, but there was a reason why they said do not eat shrimp, do not eat pork, because you die. So to say that is God's word, that you should not eat pork, you should not eat shrimp, that's not God's word. That's just people trying to keep other people from getting sick and dying and spreading that widely misunderstood sickness.
And obviously, if you tell them, I mean, and those people could have really believed that, that something like trigonosis was a curse from God from eating an unclean thing. They wouldn't have the concept of foodborne illness.
Right.
They wouldn't know what that is. They might think that, every time we eat that, we get cursed with whatever.
A plague of sickness.
Yeah. They may have thought that came from the divine as a punishment for breaking one of his laws.
Right, but that's sort of the human standard of trying to explain something that they don't understand, is that there's some sort of supernatural or divine reason for it. Because if you can't prove it scientifically, then what else is it? It must be supernatural, right?
That's kind of the usual way that we've done the God thing. Every time that we advance science back just a little, or advance science a little further, whatever God did goes back a step. Oh, so now that we know what this was, well, that next thing we don't understand, that must be what God did.
Right. That's why you have these Christian fundamentalists trying to push back stem cell research.
Oh, you can't put shit back on the horse on that one. That one's done. The stem cell research, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows that that's probably the likely cure to many major diseases.
Right, but I was just saying that's the same mentality, that you can't really have the concept of God as we know it and science coexisting together. One has to give ground.
Yeah, either a complete redefining of the term God.
I mean, what is that saying? Is like magic is only misunderstood technology? I think that's what it is. It's some sort of a actual quote. I can't really quote it specifically or remember who even said it, but I love the idea behind it. It's anything we don't understand is magic. But the person who does understand it, no, it's just science. It's technology. We invented this shit.
Yeah, if I went back, 700 years with a handgun, and I walked up to someone and told them I could kill them just by pointing at them because I had magic power.
Right.
And then they tried to challenge it, and I pointed the thing at somebody and shot them dead where they were standing. Those people would think that I had some form of magic.
Right, of course.
There would probably be a few smart ones among them that would realize that whatever was in my hand was some sort of, progression from the bow and arrow, that it was firing something at them. There's probably somebody who would be smart enough to realize that it was the technology, that it was whatever was in my hand. But at the same time, when that story started to spread, that would be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly.
You would become some sort of legend that they would form a cult around, and I mean, that's really all a religion is. It's just a successful cult.
There would be the story of a man who killed a man by pointing at him.
Yeah.
That would be the story.
Yeah, and they would try to describe whatever that device was the best they could, and they would, if you were to take another example, one that I could probably put words to, is if that you were to take an airplane. Sorry, my phone's going off.
I hear that. I thought you just left your vibrator on pulse.
You fucking cocksucker. If you were to try to describe an airplane to someone of biblical times, let's just say 1st century AD, how would you describe that? You'd probably describe it, as I said, in terms and words that they would understand. It's a bird made out of metal that shoots fire out of its ass, I guess, and makes a thunderous noise. I mean, that's a very shitty way to describe an airplane, but isn't that sort of similar to some of the things in the Bible?
I could see where you're going with this. I mean, that's also one of the things that's used when talking about Revelations. People use it to make it seem like they're talking about our time, like when they're talking about chariots spewing fire without riders and things like that. People think they're talking about tanks, and
yeah, I mean, you
could easily flex it that way. You very much could easily flex it that way if you wanted to.
I think I've established I'm a certified retard in a lot of things. So, what is the Hindu holy text? What is that called? It's like,
man, I'm gonna butcher the fuck out of this pronunciation, but it's like the Bhagavad Gita or something like that.
Bhagavad Gita, something.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah. They give detailed descriptions of similar things, and yeah, that's exactly, if you were to read that with today's understanding of technology, what else could they possibly be talking about?
At the same time, a lot of early religions did incorporate a fair amount of psychedelics into their practice. So who knows what the fuck some of these people saw?
Wait, so you're saying that they just got high?
I think a lot of them did. I'm sure you've heard experiences of people taking ayahuasca and heavy psychedelics and seeing, and I'm actually going to use this to bring us back around to actually talking about aliens, because somehow we got on the Bible.
Oh, it's all related. I mean, it's, to me at least. But
it could be. It could be. Okay. I see where you're coming from now.
Okay.
But, you know, you've seen people who've seen stuff, or you've heard of people who've seen stuff coming down from the sky. I've even heard stories of people talking about, like, light pulling, like, darkness out of their chest and stuff. But seeing things in the sky is a pretty common trait of heavy psychedelic experiences. So it could also be that they saw something like that. And the burning bush being compared to the fly amanita, that's a pretty striking comparison.
Yeah, there was, I believe we briefly went over this in one of our other episodes, but isn't the current idea that the burning bush that Moses was talking to was, I think they said it was an acacia tree, which is very common in that area. And when you burn acacia trees, it is a psychedelic, right?
Yeah, and the fly amanita mushroom grows over there, and it's a heavy psychedelic as well.
So they were just surrounded with good times, right?
Right, and you know, if they thought that they were somehow connecting to God when they took these things, not that they were getting blasted, you see in a lot of, you know, old religious traditions and indigenous religious traditions, you see heavy use of psychedelics, or at least moderate use of psychedelics.
The shaman idea.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a big stretch to think that early Judaism could have been marked by some of those same things, and certainly not. I mean, I've heard this as a joke before, but why do you think the Hindu worship cows?
Why?
What goes on cow shit?
Oh shit!
Holy shit!
Yeah, I'd probably worship them too.
I mean, that's a big big logical leap I'm making there that I don't have the expertise to make, but that's okay. I'm going to make it anyway.
Well, didn't the Egyptians also worship the cow as well, right?
I thought it was cats.
Well, yeah, that was one of them, but they had a... See, this is moments that I wish my wife would get on the podcast, because she knows pretty much everything about ancient Egypt, especially their beliefs in gods and goddesses and things like that. But I could have sworn there was some sort of a cow deity, or them worshipping cows. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, that one is actually a bit out of my wheelhouse, because I've never heard that, but it's entirely possible. I know the sun was big in their faith.
Yeah, the god Ra.
Yeah.
Sun god.
There is one concept that does seem to be pretty common in ancient and kind of ancient archaeological finds, and that's that fucking winged disc. Seen Sumerian, Egyptian, and Mayan structures, all three of which built pyramids.
Oh, you mean the thing that some of their depictions of the gods or goddesses or whatever that they're wearing on their head?
Some are wearing it on their head, and then sometimes it'll be like a hieroglyphic mural, and that will be at the top.
Sounds like a halo.
Or the sun, maybe. Could be the sun.
Yeah.
But it's usually depicted somewhat different from the sun. And in a few, it even looks kind of like a wheel.
Have you ever seen that movie, The Fourth Kind?
I have.
What'd you think of that?
I mean, it's a pretty cool movie, but I mean, it's just a movie.
Yeah. When it came out, I watched it. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's kind of like they present it as sort of a movie, but with found footage clips mixed in. And when that came out, man, I was like, holy shit. Like,
do you think the found footage was actually found footage?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Dude, it was super. Yeah. It was convincing as fuck, man. Come on.
Like, when I watched it the second time, I was just thinking,
where is this in the news? Like,
yeah, I thought that the first time. I'm like, how the fuck did this not make the news? And then
the government's trying to hide it, bro.
The second time we watched it, I Googled it, and of course, none of that even had like basis in fact whatsoever. Which in a way was it's good because that doesn't end well for those people, but at the same time it's kind of disappointing. I was like, nah, fuck, well, thought we might have had some evidence here, maybe.
The maker of the movie, if I remember the interview correctly, he was saying that it was a dramatization based off of different claims of alien abduction and alien experiences out of the Alaska area. So, I guess he was saying it was based on true stories?
And then he just wrapped the Sumerian stuff in there, I guess, to give it that extra air of creepiness.
I guess so. I mean, the Sumerians are super mysterious anyway, because we don't know anything about them. You know, they could just been a normal civilization, but at the same time, they also invented a lot of shit.
Yeah, we haven't been able to decipher. As soon as we find something similar to the Rosetta Stone for them, something that helps us decipher the rest of their language, we'll know a lot more. But
what was on the Rosetta Stone?
The Rosetta Stone, if I remember right, there's three languages on it. I know it's Greek and Egyptian, and I think the other one it might be Latin or it might be Hebrew. I can't remember which of the two.
Oh, okay.
But there's three languages on it, and it was, anyways, whatever the third one was, what it did was it gave us the ability to kind of decipher their language, which was a massive, archaeological boom because now we knew what the hell they were writing about.
Yeah, without it, we still wouldn't know.
Right.
Most likely.
Right, because a lot of people know this. Egypt has been through several, major political shifts in its history, including kind of for a little while they had essentially Greek rulers.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically made up the ruling class for a little while before eventually Rome came in. So for a while, regular Egyptians were basically being ruled by Greeks, Romans, and then, of course, today, the country is ruled by an Islamic regime.
Yeah.
That likes to suppress archaeological finds out of the country.
Oh my god, that is a whole other topic that I'm pretty passionate about. I hate it when authority figures, whether it's the government or the head of some sort of archaeological society, whatever it is, I hate it when they purposefully suppress information or stonewall people who are trying to find answers about something.
They don't want anybody to find anything that contradicts their ridiculous religion.
Right. I mean, the conspiracy theory is that they already found the answers and they don't want to share them with the world. But yeah, I think it's just a case of they have very established opinions and theories about ancient history, and they don't want that to be compromised because of money.
I mean, who knows? They might actually destroy it. If there's something that truly contradicts Islam, they might destroy it.
Yeah, I mean,
Islamic regimes do not fuck around.
It's so depressing thinking about any group of people suppressing the progression of humanity as a whole, potentially. I mean, even if those findings doesn't cause some sort of technological boom or anything like that, it still answers to our forgotten past.
Well, yeah, history is a fascinating and actually kind of shifting narrative. Like, most people view history as kind of static. But all the time we're finding things, writings from, this general or writings from this king, and learning that conceptions we might have about an entire 30, 40-year time period are completely wrong.
Right.
So so for something like that to be suppressed, that could be massive chunks of history of an entire ancient great civilization that we may never get to understand, or at least are going to take years and years longer to understand than we were going to.
I mean, especially when you start talking about the pyramids and many different monolithic structures that we don't really know how they did it. There's been plenty of people say, well, this is how they did it. But not really. I mean, what was it they were showing that you could saw through a block with, what was it, copper or brass, whatever it was, saw? They couldn't do it!
I don't remember that one, but I did see recently that there was something like a system of canals they used to get the stones there, that they found evidence of where they had made makeshift canals.
Okay. But they had canals all over Egypt. They had that technology for crops and cities and shit.
But, that's one of the classic ones, is like, how did they get all the stones there? And they're saying now they're finding evidence that there were canals in that area made for that purpose.
Even if that answers the question of how they got the stones to the site, how did they place them?
I'm sure there's got to be a way, man, because...
Not in the time span that it's supposed to have happened. It was supposed to happen in, 30 years? Something like that? No way. No way in hell.
And it probably did take longer than that. Who knows?
Well, just to give you a bit of perspective on that, when it comes to the Great Pyramid, just that pyramid, if I got the numbers correct, if you were to cut, shape, transport, and place 10 stones per day, which is a lot, it would take you 660-something years. And we're supposed to believe that they did it in 30.
Well, maybe they could place more than 10 stones a day, but...
How? That's the question, right? I'm not asking you, give me an answer. I'm saying, but how?
I'm sure there's some methodology that they use, because of the many things I am confident about, I don't believe aliens built the fucking pyramid.
Okay,
I do not believe that.
Well, we've kind of severely digressed into something else other than aliens, but I am saying that there was some sort of lost way of doing things. I mean, there's the theory that Khufu, the one that ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid, didn't build the pyramid from the ground up. That essentially he made improvements on it. That's why you have the different stones that are coming from different quarries. Like, there's the quarry that's relatively near the Great Pyramid, but you also have the quarry where some of the stones in the pyramid were over 500 miles away. So maybe Khufu ordered the restoration, the renovation of this pyramid, and maybe that only took 30 years.
They could have also had a certain amount of stone on hand. I'm sure they didn't just go start procuring stone every single time they wanted to build something. So they could have had a good amount of it on hand, because they were constantly building structures.
Yeah, just a stockpile of stones weighing between 2 and 80 tons, just sitting around waiting to be built into something.
They had to do something. I'm sure ancient civilizations didn't just get shit just when they need it. We don't do that.
Okay, well, see, I'm not meaning this to sound like a debate, but at the same time, you're kind of like, well, maybe. Do you not even acknowledge the thought that it could have been something else other than what the textbooks say?
It could have been, but there's always people trying to plug in something fantastical where, whenever the research is done, we usually find something rather mundane.
Yes, but I'm not saying that aliens built it, and I'm not even saying like some sort of super advanced lost civilization built it either. But all I'm saying is that it is pretty fascinating that there's no way that we know of that one of those could be built, especially within that time frame.
And I'm sure they had methods and techniques that are lost. I'm sure they did. Because ancient civilizations, a lot of them had, we find things like how they did certain things. I mean, Rome basically built their own damn makeshift mountain just to assail Masada whenever they were quashing a Jewish rebellion. They literally built a damned mountain.
I mean, yeah, if you were to compare something like that to modern technology, I'll say, even though I'm talking about the moon landings, we basically, on a whim, decided we're going to go to the moon. And we did it. So, yeah, maybe just to us and to a lot of other people, that it doesn't seem feasible. But
yeah, especially when you consider that in the actual, how far away the moon actually is.
Is that 400,000 miles? Something? I might be wrong.
The actual distance is not a number that I have in my head, but it is enough space that you could literally tuck pretty much the rest of the planets in between.
See, I don't remember hard numbers like that. I guess that's just not how my brain works. But I do know that if you were to drive from Earth to the moon, it would take you 6 months.
And that's if you never stop.
Right. Yeah. No pee breaks. Oh my God.
That's an incredible thing. I mean, there could be a time whenever people now question whether we even did that or not.
I don't even want to get into that. Yes, we did. To everyone who says that we didn't, shut your fucking face. Yes, we did.
Stanley Kubrick directed it.
You're not baiting me. So, aliens. Let's try to come back on that.
See, I told you this topic was broad as fuck. Like, I knew this would be a meander. This would be meandering.
That's the hard part about it, is that it is so much when talking about aliens that it's really hard to stay on one specific topic. But, I mean, okay, let's go back to what you said about them not coming here. If they do exist, why would they care about our little blue speck in the galaxy?
Right, and the level of technology it would take to come from somewhere far enough away that they... Because, where is the closest planet that we know of that could sustain life?
Again, I'm bad with numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's 4 light years away?
4 light years.
I think so.
The amount of technology that it would take to traverse that space.
Warp drive. You just warp space.
Yeah, they'd have to have built that.
Or found it.
I mean, we're talking about an insane level of technology.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the jumps in technological advancement, I mean, you could go back to the, what the fuck? Hold on, let me look this up because I'm tired of saying I don't know. Continue your thought, I'm sorry.
I kind of lost it there while I was listening, but that's okay.
Okay, if you talk about the Kardashev scale, the type 1, type 2, type 3 levels of civilization, the jumps in between that are insane, especially the higher up you go. Because according to this scale, I'm not really sure who made I actually think it was Carl Sagan that came up with an equation to find out where we are on this scale. And according to that equation, we're not even a type 1 yet. We're actually I think it's 0.72 on that scale. But for anyone who doesn't know, the Kardashev scale is 3 types of civilization. The first type is a civilization that can harness all of the energy coming from their sun. Now, we kind of do that, solar panels, things like that. But talking about harnessing all of it. I'm sorry, I just described type 2. Fuck!
I was thinking that. I was going like, wait a minute, we've talked about this once before at some point.
Okay, let me
and
read
I
it.
could have swore that was the second one. I was like, damn it.
Let me read it straight off of here, since I'm a fucking retard. Okay, a type 1 designation is given to a species who have been able to harness all the energy that is available from a neighboring star, gathering and storing it to meet the energy demands of a growing population. This means that it would need to boost their current energy production over 100,000 times to reach this status. So I wasn't far from that. But a type 2 is harnessing all of the star's energy. That's like the Dyson sphere discussion, where it's basically a Dyson sphere is basically like a huge solar panel that surrounds the entire sun. That's basically type 2.
But if we harness the power from the sun, there won't be enough to heat the earth.
Yeah, well, you won't need the sun for heat.
But then the plants won't grow and everything will die.
And also with the type 2, you could also traverse space like within your neighboring planets. Like we could go to Uranus whenever we want.
I can go to Uranus whenever I want.
But we could also mine asteroids, things like that. But a type 3 civilization, that's where it's just like, holy shit. That's essentially harnessing the energy of the entire galaxy and traversing the galaxy at will.
I was just saying, now you're talking about interstellar travel.
Right. And what the fuck?
And what would that civilization want with us?
Okay. But
pardon me.
As a whole, nothing. I believe it was Michio, that fucking guy.
Michio Kaku?
Yeah, I can't say his name. Michio Kaku. I think he sort of related it to passing an anthill on a highway. Why would we care about that anthill? Or someone going out of their way to visit an anthill in Africa. Well, certainly...
We have people that do that.
Exactly. We have people who do that for a living. Now, as a whole, the human race doesn't give a fuck about ants, let alone a specific anthill. But there are people who do. And that's why I think maybe that could be their motivation, or that could be the reason why they're coming here. No?
That makes more sense than anything. Scientific research makes more sense than anything, because if they've harnessed that level of power, some people are like, well, if they could conquer us, they would, and maybe not, because if they've harnessed that level of power and energy...
Why would they want to conquer us?
They don't need us, because we think they're going to have to necessarily be like us.
Yeah, that's
what we do. That's what people do.
Yeah, that's the thing that... See, I love Stephen Hawking. He's probably... If I was to have a scientist hero, he would definitely be it for many different reasons. But there is one thing I disagree with him so much, is that he's afraid of discovering another race in the universe, because look how we treated new civilizations.
He's cautious of AI as well.
Yeah, AI as well, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. But as far as the aliens, he's assuming that they have human motivations and human emotions and human, just human desires. That's a very human thing to do. And especially for, let alone a different species, but that far more advanced to be able to pick that planet, see that there's life on it, and then go visit it. Yeah, why would they want to conquer us? What do we have that they don't?
Yeah, what would be the benefit? I mean, you could say like, well, the natural instinct is to try to dominate everything. No, that's people.
That's people. That's
only some people. That's not even all people.
Exactly. That's not all people, but that's still a very caveman mentality. Is conquer this.
I mean, we should probably not assume that any other species we could encounter is essentially going to be Space Hitler.
Space Hitler.
But that's all I hear. They think they're going to come here and enslave us or kill us or...
Well, they say that that's what we were designed to do. That they designed us to be their slaves. To, like, mine gold or some shit.
Again, if they can fly to this planet, they probably don't need help mining gold.
Well, they probably can do it themselves, but
They probably didn't need a smelly, half-naked man from the middle of the desert with a pick made from wood and rock to get their shit. They did not need that. I'm sure they had something way better.
Well, I mean, for you, if you had access to a remote, would you get up to change the channel on the TV?
Well, the funny thing is, a remote is a piece of technology, and I was going to say they probably have machines and AI that can handle that. It would make sense.
What if we're the technology? That's what I just said, is that they designed us to be their remote.
Well, we went off script a long time ago then.
Well, that's just a result of leaving us to do whatever we want. Where the fuck are we going with this?
I don't know, man. I told you that this one would go like this.
Oh, it's exciting though. It's an exciting topic for me. I mean, it's very. I could get lost in my thoughts about this stuff.
I mean, I love the thoughts of alien civilizations and what they would be like. Where my skepticism kicks in, again, like I said, with the size of our universe and even just our galaxy, I'm sure there's other life out there. It's reasonable to expect, with the youth of our solar system, relatively speaking, that there are civilizations more advanced than us. I think it'd be very egotistical to say that we're probably the most advanced civilization in the entire universe. Probably not.
Yeah, but, I mean, it definitely does make sense to think that, and I do believe that is what I believe as well. But there is still the idea that there had to have been a first. And what if we are the first? What if we're the first species that's destined to travel the universe?
Well, that's possible. But I don't think it's probable for the simple reason, like I said, that our solar system compared to some others is...
older, for one.
No, I thought it was younger.
No, I meant theirs is older than ours. That's what I meant.
Yeah, our solar system is a good bit younger.
Right.
So there's a good chance that other solar systems that could support life that are older probably started the whole life thing earlier. Now, there's many other things that could go into that. They could have had more catastrophic events, more mass extinctions.
Yes. That's what I was about to say, is that they could have started the exact same time, but they didn't have our setbacks.
Yeah, so there's so many X factors that go into that it's probable that in one of these older solar systems, someone got to start earlier or start at the same time and didn't have as many setbacks. Who knows? Maybe they never discovered religion and they got a leg up on us there.
Holy shit!
You gotta love how I just sneak a dig in at that everywhere I can.
God, he's the relentless atheist.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like religion has been a weird tool for us. I consider it mostly a setback, especially now. And during the Dark Ages, but at other times, religion has also, funded science and art at different points throughout human history. So at times it's been useful, at times it's been a big bag of shit.
Yeah, so, it's I don't know, man. I don't know if we would have been better off without it or not, but it's the cards that we were dealt, so... But
especially early on, I don't know if we would have been alright without it.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know. I mean, we just used religion to explain the unexplainable and give us a reason to exist. I mean, that's sort of like the biggest question of humanity is, who are we and why are we?
Yeah, why are we here?
Right. And according to your atheist beliefs, what? There is no reason.
We're lucky.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Lucky. We're a consequence of chemistry and physics.
Yeah. No difference than, any chemical reaction, right?
No different than the tree I'm looking at outside my window.
It was put there for your enjoyment by God. It gives you oxygen, it gives you shade.
Fun story. I was living here when it was planted.
Really?
So, yeah. And it was not put here by God. It was put here by my grandmother. But anyway, if to me it seems likely that some civilization has got a chance to be more advanced than us for any number of factors. And there's probably civilizations that aren't as advanced as us. So, if we could travel, there's probably somewhere out there a civilization with people who are still in their equivalent of the Stone Age.
Very true. And I think that's sort of another argument for why they aren't here, is because last time they checked, we were still cavemen.
Well, consider this. Okay, unless they've got something to help them overcome the way light moves, mm-hmm. If they're living 4 light years away from us, right?
Okay.
That's what? When they look at this planet, they see 4 years ago.
Right.
Now, what if the system that actually has life, that's the closest one that could. We don't even know that it does.
Right, yes.
But what if one of the ones that could is actually, a few thousand light years away from us?
Right, I see where you're going with it. Like, if someone is 100,000 light years away, when they see us, if they could zoom in enough, they would see what the Earth looked like 100,000 years ago.
Right. So even if they're only, a few thousand years away, they would probably notice a developing civilization if they could see that well. Mm-hmm. And it's reasonable to think that they possibly could with that level of technology. But if they could see that well, they would just see us in very infancy of civilization. And it would be the way it feels probably for humans right now when we observe apes using tools for the first time. So they'd be like, oh, that's cool. They're still doing that over there.
How cute.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in real time, at least as far as our perspective, we have all of this technology and we have the mental capacity to ask these sort of questions.
But not the mental capacity to answer them.
Oh no. We're far too preoccupied with our desires and our jealousies.
Oh no, desire's fun.
Of course you'd say that. You're fucking human.
Yeah.
I think emotions will be evolved out of us.
That sounds awful.
Well, to you it would, wouldn't it? To anyone who's human, that's what? That's like saying, well, okay, I guess I won't be human anymore. Right. That's kind of the idea of evolution. You become something else.
Yeah, but if you lose all emotion, you lose, joy and, you lose all the fun shit too. It's not like you just, I don't have all this anger and jealousy and shit. Yeah, you don't have any of the good shit either. So, what would be the point to life just to...
that's good to you. Let's talk about the Neanderthals, where maybe they thought it was fun to deal with the Ice Age. When we think about it, it's like, God, that sucks. I'm glad I'm in this house with heat.
I don't think anyone thought dealing with the Ice Age was fun. It's like, I can't find food and I got frostbite on my pecker. No, I don't think it's fun.
I'm just saying, what's fun and the feeling of joy to you, it could be something completely different to a more, in quotes, evolved being that you could only see as, he has no emotion. Yeah,
that would be that'd be kind of a bummer, in my opinion.
But see, what if our goal as our reason for existing is simply to give way for the next thing? It's not to conquer the galaxy or the universe or anything like that. We're just another stepping stone towards some sort of master race of the universe. Our only purpose is for AI and plastic.
I was going to say, so basically what you're saying is we were just here to create AI. But
why
I don't
not?
think so.
Why not? What else could it be? Without your human ego in it, what else could it be other than we're just another stepping stone towards something else?
I think a few years down the line, quite a few years down the line, I think you're going to see a human AI kind of symbiosis.
At first.
Because I think, and I do think you're also going to see a bit of a synthesis too, a little bit of a combining of the two, because I think human ingenuity and creativity combined with AI's power.
Yeah, that's called a transitional stage.
Will be probably better than either one could be on its own. Because I don't think AI can just do it on its own. I don't think it's creative enough.
Well, our understanding of AI, no. But an AI that went through that transition of the synthesis, it could become something completely different. We could be the AI right now. We're the AI of some previous civilization. How about that?
We're in the Matrix.
Oh my god, this conversation is so... Holy shit!
It's the most rambly ass shit we've done since ever.
Oh my god. You know, at one point we were talking about aliens.
Yeah, and we keep revisiting it.
Okay.
And all the tangents that come from it.
Well, let's go back to the first point. Abductions.
I don't think it's actually happening.
You don't think so?
I think it's some sort of delusion.
Okay. Well, I mean, what was that quote that you told me? The Bill Hicks quote about abductions.
Was it the abduction one or the one on where they choose to visit?
I think, yeah, that one. It sort of pertains to the same thing, but yeah.
It's like crossing galaxies to be here and then show up in places like Fife, fucking Alabama.
Right, so the idea that they only come to hillbillies. They only abduct people that, if they were to go public with it, you wouldn't believe them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of these people, not to go on a tangent, but they remind me of, like, Bigfoot researchers.
Oh, let's not go into that. I don't want to go into that. That's a dangerous topic, because we're trying to stay on point. Fuck!
But yeah, they do remind me of that in that, they've got all these theories on aliens and, they think they figured this shit out.
Right.
But they've never seen one.
Yeah, but, okay, I mean, the question is, right, if they are coming here, why are they going to places like Fife, Alabama? Well, my theory about that is that, first of all, they're not. If you actually look into reported UFO sightings, not so much abductions, but definitely sightings, they are literally all over the world, all over our country. They're everywhere. But I want you to be 100% honest with yourself right now. Okay? If you were abducted, and, not even necessarily experimented on, but like you were abducted and they showed you around their spaceship, whatever, would you go public with that? I'm talking like news interviews, talk show interviews, whatever.
I'd really have to think about it because nobody's going to believe you.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of where I'm coming from, is that the people who come out and publicly talk about it, they don't care what you think about them. I think more people has seen UFOs or had some sort of an experience and they just don't talk about it because they're afraid that they'll be labeled as crazy. They're afraid that no one will believe them. They're afraid of being ostracized. They're afraid of not being a part of the group anymore. So they just keep it in.
Maybe they're afraid of visits from the Men in Black.
That too. I mean, I think fear has kept a lot of people silent. I think if it is actually happening, I'm not saying it is or isn't, but if it is actually happening and people are being abducted by extraterrestrial beings, I think a large majority, a large percentage of them don't talk about it.
Well, I mean, honestly, if I was actually abducted, I'd begin to wonder, like, how much of this other shit is real. Like, I'd be thinking, like, shit, if I talk about this, am I going to get a visit from the Men in Black? Is that real, too?
Right, yeah.
I don't think that's real. In my current, way I think about things, I don't think that's fucking real. I don't think there's any Men in Black coming around suppressing information.
Well, just like the ghost discussion we had on the Halloween episode, it's kind of like a cliche. Like, you didn't believe in it until you had your own experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the thing that makes the most sense, but at the same time, it's hard for me. You know me, I'm a skeptic, and it's hard for me to be like, oh, well, you know, I'm sure these people don't have any reason to want to tell these stories. I mean, at the very least, they're more special than they were when they were showing up for their 9 to 5 every day and nobody even knew who they were, knew their face, or heard their story, or gave a shit about any of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is being mocked and ridiculed, but then again, some people also believe them. Is being famous in a small circle better than being a nobody? And I think some people would tell those stories or even invent those stories to get that notoriety and that fame in that small circle.
I think that's actually happened as well. Like, I think there are some of them that are for sure full of shit. But like the Betty and Barney Hill case, you know, cases like that, why would they? Obviously, we didn't know them, so we don't know their motivations, but they didn't...
Yeah, I would have to dig on that one.
Yeah, it's... To me, I think it's just more complicated, just like ghosts, just like religion. I think it's more complicated than a simple, yes, it's real, no, it's fake answer.
I wonder why it's such a popular delusion, but at the same time, I do still think it's some degree of a delusion.
But what... You're already drawing a conclusion by just saying it's a delusion. But what makes you think it's a delusion?
Just, I don't see it happen. I don't see why we would be...
But don't look at it through your own eyes. Look at it with a truly open mind. Look at it as if it could be real. Not it's fake until it's proven to me that it's real.
Yeah, that's just how my mind works, is like the evidence.
See, I don't know. I guess, I mean, that is, I think we've already established that's one of the ways that we're different, is that you're all about evidence, which is not wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong in thinking this way, but I don't know. I just think there's no way I could possibly know the answer.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. I just don't think it is. Or I don't think it's happening.
So you're basically like, it's not real, and I'm like, could be?
I would put it like, okay, if one was being dead sure that no abductions have ever happened on this planet, period, no interference from aliens ever, period, no sightings, period, done. If that was a 1, and 7 was, oh, I know there are aliens, this has definitely happened, they've been interfering with our civilization since the early days, I know they abduct people, in fact, I've seen one last week, my butt still hurts. If that was a 7, I would be, like, hovering between, like, a 2 and a 3 on there, is how I'd put it. Maybe even, like, a solid 2 on there. Like, I'm reasonably certain this isn't going on, but I can't really rule it out either. I can't say that it's definitely not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'd be on that scale.
Probably a 6.
Whatever. 6 is definitely someone who's come out with, like, I've been abducted.
No, well, I'm just saying, like, your level of belief in it, or of belief in abductions and alien experiences.
I don't know. It'd probably be right in the center, because I don't know. I can't say yes or no. I just think it's interesting to think about. I think of course it's interesting to think about, because it's a mystery. People love mysteries.
Well, it's fascinating to think about. Like, ghosts are fascinating to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you get an answer to something, then it's no longer as interesting.
Yeah, but usually, especially in these types of things, if you get an answer, it just opens more questions.
Yeah, but I just meant, like, a definitive answer. Like, there's no disputing it. I kind of hope that, maybe not that they're abducting people and sticking shit in their ass, maybe not that, but... Will you stop it with that? They don't always do that.
How do you know they don't always do that?
Because they're not always...
abducted?
Because they're not always reporting that, man.
Well, look, if there's a part of the abduction you might leave out, it's the part where your butt hurts.
I don't know. There's some of those are some pretty embarrassing shit. Like forced to have sex with an alien female.
I haven't even heard that.
It's out there.
That sounds a little bit like the ghost sex thing. That sounds like some sort of creative... That sounds like some sort of creative, fetishistic fan fiction shit. That's what that sounds like.
Well, it's for sure a fetish. I'm pretty sure it's a category in some store.
They made me have sex with one, even though biologically that makes no sense.
Maybe. I mean, that opens up another question. What do they look like if they're real? Are we the example of evolution that, all advanced civilizations are bipedal, like humanoid shape?
There's a lot that goes into that. But also, for carbon-based life forms, it wouldn't be that weird if they took a similar shape, roughly, to us. But...
Why? Because they're carbon... Why being carbon-based means anything?
Well, certain things about our anatomy are extremely useful if you're going to do things like traverse galaxies and build things. Having our hands with our opposable thumbs, those are very handy for actually building and constructing things.
I mean, I guess. I think our only advantage is our brains and our capacity. Our mental capacities, because if you look at us just as a physical specimen, we kind of suck.
Don't overlook the opposable thumb, man. Don't overlook it.
Apes have opposable thumbs.
Yeah, but they're not smart enough.
Exactly! That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you need both.
And we need both. Like, our shape needs both. But what if we had wings? What if we were, like, underwater creatures that we just evolved into something else? We wouldn't need thumbs. All you need is the mental capacity. All you need is the brain to become the master of the planet or whatever.
Yeah, but you still need certain basic things if you're going to build the kind of things that you're talking about to, like, traverse space.
Maybe.
I mean, because you're talking about creating technology, and you do need the means to interact and work with the pieces to create it.
That's assuming that you actually need a physical vehicle to go somewhere else. What if you just built a portal?
Built. You still had to build it.
Hey man, things are nearly weightless.
Build it with flippers.
Things are nearly weightless and underwater, and they can carry it in their mouths.
Yeah, but you still ain't building shit with flippers, dude.
God, you were just resisting this idea.
So I'm not resisting.
You are resisting.
And now it sounds rapey.
Whoa! Don't drop the R word, man.
What word, retard?
Whatever.
Anyways, yeah, it'd be pretty fascinating if it was definitely happening. I'd kind of like to think there's some cool shit going on. But again, like, where we even get into that weirdness from? Oh yeah, sex with an alien. What would sex with an alien feel like?
You'd have to ask them. I don't know.
Now you have to, like, invent what alien orifices would look and feel like, and that just gets weird.
In some of the reports, they're very similar to humans. Not necessarily that orifice, but I'm talking about, like, faces and,
I feel like anime porn has all the answers we need to this topic.
Really? You think the Japanese has figured it out?
Oh, yeah.
That's their way of disclosing the information is anime porn.
Like, out of all the weird shit they've drawn, I'm sure they got it right somewhere. One of them, it's like, hey, that's actually it. Holy shit.
Throw enough darts, you'll eventually hit the bullseye. I don't know, man. Basically my point with all of that was, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could look similar to us, but if they look like something we wouldn't even recognize as a living being, I think that's more likely. Maybe.
You get into, like, life basically needs to be based in carbon or from the carbon family of elements.
As we understand it, yes.
And most likely it would be carbon because systems in nature tend to trend toward the most simple. And if you've got silicon on your planet, you've probably got carbon in abundance.
Right. But being carbon-based, like a carbon-based being, maybe that's no different than us thinking about, body hair. Like, I'm just trying to think of something from cavemen that we've evolved past. You know what I mean?
Shit, look at my ass. We've not evolved past body hair.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? Like, it's
we've got less.
Yeah, it's being carbon-based could be something that we eventually evolve out of, whether it's making ourselves into a silicon-based life form, something like that. But I don't know. I just think the way we are currently, we could barely survive our own planet, let alone the vastness of space. So, for them to look like us, the likelihood of us being able to perceive them, like we have eyes that pick up a certain number of wavelengths. We can't see all the wavelengths. We have our hearing that's severely flawed. Our sense of smell, taste, feel, all that stuff. What if they're made of something? What if they're a being that we literally cannot see, hear, smell, touch, all that? We can't perceive them at all.
Now you're just getting weird with it.
It's possible, though, right? I mean, what if...
I don't know if that actually is possible.
If they're only visible in the infrared spectrum.
That doesn't make sense for any living being to only be visible in the infrared spectrum.
As we know it. Our only example of life is what comes from our very own planet. So, until we find another form of life on some planet, whether it's just a stupid kangaroo on Jupiter's moon. I don't know. Our only example is what we already have, and you can't go by that example when talking about what an alien could look like. Nothing? No rebuttal? Skeptic?
I mean, I'm just saying, I think we can go with that because it's the best thing we've got.
No! See, this is why I have such an issue with that mindset, that skeptic mindset that...
I mean, but what are we going to base that life form on? Are we going to... Nothing in our table of the elements when it's in solid form is invisible to us.
You can't even acknowledge the possibility that it could be a being that we could not perceive.
Man, I don't think that it could work like that. I don't think that they could be made of anything that we just can't see.
Skeptics are supposed to be open-minded, not closed-minded.
Right, but I'm racking my brain for something in our table of the elements that whenever it's in a solid enough form to interact with its world, that we can't see it.
Our table of elements are only things that we've found.
And that we find whenever looking at other planets.
Yeah, kind of. Like really common ones like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, things like that.
I mean, they probably have to be radioactive as fuck to be in some weird state like that. But...
I mean, didn't they find a new element in the 21st century? I want to think it was the early 2000s. They found a new element,
synthesized one. They're doing that now a lot. Synthesizing.
Oh, now
elements.
now you're getting into synthesized elements. So what if they synthesize an element and made themselves into whatever that is as their base?
How would they do that?
How could we know? How does an ant know how a cell phone works? They can't!
Right, and what if they have unicorns on their planet?
They could!
I mean, we're just what-ifing everything here now.
Well, if you take into if you subscribe to the idea that the universe is infinite with infinite possibilities, there's literally everything out there. Literally.
So somewhere out there on another planet, there's an elephant that's just cures cancer?
Why is everything jizz and dicks to you? And anal probing. You're a very dick-centered mindset.
This is just my sense of humor, man. Oh, God. Yeah, that's just my sense of humor, man.
Yeah, something. I think it's an obsession.
So you're going Freudian with me here?
Yeah. Well, okay, the one thing I did want to say about your mass delusion theory on abductions, or the UFO phenomena as a whole, I guess. People have similar dreams to one another. That's why you have those books that says, this dream means this, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So, I think the one that pops in my head that seems to be the most common type of dream, well, not the most common, but a common dream, is the dream where you, lose all your teeth. You ever had that dream?
I've had that dream a few times.
Yeah. And apparently, if I remember right, it's some sort of... It means that you have some sort of insecurity.
I've seen a few different explanations. I've seen insecurity. I've seen, that you're losing power or you fear failing health.
Yeah. I mean, what they mean is not where I'm going with it, because as far as what dreams mean, that can get very similar to, astrology. The zodiac things in the newspaper, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But the thing is that we all have different types of dreams. And I just find it interesting that we have very common dreams, even though we're separate people. So maybe there is something to the whole abduction being a delusion or a type of dream, something like that. But yeah, we just don't know. I'm trying to get that through your head.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's fake until I see evidence. Evidence.
Yeah, that's, how you end up not believing in bullshit.
I get that, but all I'm trying to do is make you think about different things.
Oh, I think about it. I mean, I've watched every episode of Unsealed Alien Files. Every bit of it. Every last bit of it.
Really?
Yeah, every last bit of it.
Oh my god.
There's some neat fiction in there.
Dude, I stopped watching Ancient Aliens, season 2.
Oh, I didn't watch that one just because I saw that one goofy-looking fucker, the guy that's the Mead now. And I'm just I'm not listening to this guy on anything.
Georgios Tsoukalos.
Yeah. Tsoukalos?
Yes, Tsoukalos. He's Greek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was super into that, the ancient astronaut theory. I was super into that. I think there's potentially something there, but the show especially has just it's made a meme of itself. I mean, just like the Giorgio Tsoukalos meme. It's aliens. Everything's aliens.
Well, that Unsealed show, if you've never seen it, it's done super stupid. They're telling people's encounters and stuff, but they always they have a guy doing a really X-Files-y voiceover, but super dramatized.
Really? Wow.
On September 7th, he looked up into the sky and he saw something he could not explain.
Oh God, that
kind of shit.
Oh my God, that's bad.
Yeah, no, it really is like that too. Just watch an episode and laugh.
But see, my introduction, I will, by the way. If I can find it, I'll watch one.
It's on Netflix.
Okay, cool.
You can find it.
My introduction to ancient astronaut theory was actually reading Eric von Daniken's books. And yeah, I know he's been wrong a number of times throughout his career. But as far as opening my mind to the possibility of that idea was because of him. And I don't think it's likely at all. But it is very interesting to think about, like we talked about the pyramids and the ancient lost civilizations, where did we come from? The way things are now, our current explanations for our past, it doesn't add up to a lot of different things, like the pyramid.
I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about the pyramid.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear my thoughts there is that we just don't know how we built it, and we'll figure it out.
Maybe.
If we can ever properly explore Egypt, I think we will figure it out.
That's actually a point that I wanted to bring up whenever we talked about the pyramids, is that once they stop stonewalling these archaeologists and scientists in general of studying it, then I think we'd have a lot more answers.
Because even if they got help from somewhere, they probably wrote that shit down somewhere.
Maybe. I mean,
someone probably wrote that shit down.
Maybe. I mean, you have the destruction of the Library of Alexandria, which could have been in there.
We do have, a lot of lost text, but at the same time, I think that, if we can ever properly explore it, I think we'll find the answer if we can ever properly explore it. I think that would require the collapse of an entire regime.
God.
Again. Hopefully for it not to be replaced by a Islamic regime that wants to suppress, everything that comes out of it, which, as long as it's in a country that's that deeply steeped in that faith, I don't know how you're going to get a regime that isn't that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're nowhere near ready to start traversing the stars. I mean, just look at your news every day, and you can see that we're not ready.
Yeah, we can't even traverse Africa or the Middle East.
Yeah, without getting shot or captured or whatever.
Yeah, we can't. We still have countries in this world that just a couple of weeks ago gave permission to women to drive finally. We have countries in this world where women are not allowed to go outside without a male member of their family to go with them.
Because why?
They might tempt men into committing sinful acts.
Oh.
And they can't be responsible for themselves.
Oh. Didn't you say on our discussion about the commandments that according to something, I can't remember what, that a female can commit adultery but not a man?
Other way around.
Other way around?
Other way around. And it's very like a man, it's not really you can commit adultery, but a man could take multiple wives.
Right.
And he could even have if he had slaves that were what were considered concubines, he could sleep with them because they were his property.
Mm.
And his wives are also his property, and he could sleep with them, but no other man could sleep with them, and they couldn't sleep with another man.
Where did that mentality come from, that men are the better sex? Where did that come from?
I think this is actually very simple. I think during a time period of early civilization where people were, your strength and your ability to go out and to hunt and to kill and to gather and to, do this heavy, hard work type lifestyle, less mental and more
physical,
physical and needing your strength.
Mm-hmm.
I think at a time period where that was more essential for survival than anything, it allowed men to dominate society at an early point.
Well, he was the man was the provider, right? He brought home the meat.
Correct. And also you got to consider now we have jobs that women can actually still work while they're pregnant.
Right.
A woman basically in those times, she was at risk of death, significant risk of death during pregnancy and childbirth. But also you're talking about being a lot more incapacitated in those times. You can't go out and work the fields while pregnant in the beating sun of the desert.
No, they did.
And they did, but not past certain points because it could kill you. And so what you've got is, I think, a time period that allowed men to dominate society because, physical strength was a big selector at that point in history. And I think that's pretty much it. And while they had that point of control, they took the time to write some religious texts and stuff that gave them the control in perpetuity.
They say that's why men as a whole are generally bad at explaining something. Because when they're out on a hunt, they have to use very short, almost 1 to 2 word sentences to each other. Because, they're hunting. Meanwhile, you have the females who are really good at explaining detail things. And apparently this is where gossiping came from as well. Because they're back at home talking to the other females and the kids. So that was basically their life, was talking.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hunter-gatherer societies. Women also would, while men would hunt, women would also take over the role of tending crops while they were gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically at a time where the physical strength of males was essential, they took they took the opportunity to dominate society.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that's where the whole patriarchal thing really comes from. And then you get some like weird ass religious stuff that comes from that, like, you know, women having to be covered in public, and that's weird. That's really fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, especially in this country, we're experiencing a shift in that mentality. That there is no male or female, that it's a spectrum.
Oh no, there's like 67 genders, dude.
Yeah, like, you're not male, you're not female, you're somewhere on this scale. You know what I mean?
I'm a gender-neutral pyrofox.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Some weird-ass cartoon I saw one time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Gender-neutral pyrofox?
Yep.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
Just look that up sometime.
I will not look that up. No.
It's like a cyanide and happiness cartoon, and like the mom's trying to get them to put her son down, like euthanize him.
Wow.
Because he won't stop wearing a foxtail and staying all crouched down and refusing to acknowledge that he's a person instead. He's a gender neutral pyrofox.
Oh God, I don't want to get into that fucking topic, man.
And the doctor won't do it. It's like, no, this is a human being, and he's like, no, I'm not.
If I could be called closed-minded on anything, it could probably be about otherkin, whatever it is.
What the fuck's an otherkin?
It's the people that identify as different animals or creatures. It's like, I was born a human, but I'm really a dragon.
That's funny, because those probably never existed to begin with, but okay.
I don't know, man. Why, if they never existed, why does every civilization have a dragon?
Probably because snakes are really fucking scary, and then their imagination runs away with them.
Snakes don't fly. Well, that's that's the Western dragon.
Dude, if you saw a fucking anaconda, you could make a horror creature out of that thing.
Well, the flying dragon is the European version, but a snake with legs and whiskers, which, you know, that's the Eastern dragon.
Komodo dragon, dude. That's probably where they got that shit from.
Yeah, but the Eastern dragon, it's not an evil thing. It's not a monster. It actually brought you, like, luck. So
stories of, like, great serpents and things are all over religion and stuff. I mean, this
is a religion. This is mythology. Cryptozoology.
Is there a difference?
I don't... Man, shut the fuck up. Jesus. Fucking trolley.
Hey, you know there is a pretty famous quote that says, "Yesterday's religion is today's mythology," right?
Yeah, that's basically the path that every belief takes. It's an ideal, a cult, a religion, then a myth.
But yeah, like mythology also wrote about a lot of really strange creatures. Like great serpents is a pretty common theme throughout mythology from all over the world.
So they existed.
And, of course, just like the unicorns. Just like Pegasus.
Maybe they existed too.
Just like, you know, I don't know. I'll make something else up here in a second. Oh, giants. Giants were real. They were probably real because they wrote about them all over the world.
Yeah. How can you say it's not? Can you remember what you had yesterday for breakfast?
Yeah, because I didn't have breakfast.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. We can't remember shit.
Yeah, it's just a... And you're totally baiting me, but...
Yeah, I am.
You masturbator.
I'm a master at baiting.
But,
wah.
Yeah.
So, God damn it. Alright, I don't know why we try to talk about one thing. I think we should just call it the Theory of Tangents podcast and just do our thing.
Watch as we masturbate.
See, there you go again with your goddamn dick fucking centered mindset.
Dick fucking centered mindset.
Yes.
There's a quote for the ages.
Dick centered.
No, it's pretty...
So,
I don't know where I was going with that sentence.
So, okay. Do you think aliens exist? Advanced, I'm not talking about microbes on some distant planet. I'm talking about whether they're the same advancement or more advanced than us. Do you think they exist?
Yes.
Why? You have no evidence.
All right. See, this is where I go with probability.
Oh.
And I've explained this earlier in this very same podcast.
I wasn't listening.
Yeah, probably not. Think about macaroni and cheese or something over there. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, macaroni and cheese. Sorry, what?
And now it's weird. But, basically, just with the size of the galaxy and the universe itself, it's highly probable that it happened somewhere.
Okay. Where's the evidence?
It's very probable. Dude, probability is not evidence.
If you want to go off of probability, then you can't dismiss pretty much anything that we've talked about.
But you can talk about whether it's more probable or less probable.
Is it probable that they built the pyramid in 30 years?
Who knows? There's probably a way for an ancient civilization to do that.
Where'd they get that information? Where'd they get that technology?
Just because I don't know doesn't mean I'm going to plug in a ridiculous answer. It's okay to not know.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah, I'm just skeptical of abductions. I'm sure aliens are real, just because the universe is so damn big. If it happened here, it probably happened somewhere else.
Yeah, abductions aren't probable.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. But, I mean, there's enough stories and stuff, but there's a lot of stories about a lot of things.
I don't know. Well, if not abducting people, do you think that they could be coming here?
I guess they could. That's when I'll just go full on I don't know. Because I've seen so many, like, UFO videos and, like, UFOs in the sky and stuff.
You've seen a UFO?
No, videos.
Oh.
No, I've never seen a UFO. This would be a totally different conversation if I'd seen a UFO with my own eyes. But I've seen so many videos of them and things like that, but I can't be, bothered to research every single time whether they were debunked or not.
Well, I have seen, if you were to take the literal definition of UFO, unidentified flying object, I have seen one. It was something that didn't look like a plane at the time. It didn't look like a plane to me, and it was in the daytime, so I was able to see sort of the shape. It was very far away. It could have been just an airplane, like, straight on to me. I couldn't see the wings or whatever. But the thing that makes me think that it was a UFO was that I was watching it. I was outside, and I was watching it go across, not thinking anything of it. I thought, it's an airplane. But I looked away for a second, and I looked back up, and it was in the opposite direction. Meaning, it, like where it started when I first started looking at it, it was back there and started going again. And about the time that it got to where I looked away the first time, I lost track of it. Now, I'm not saying it's aliens. It could have been an airplane, but it was a UFO. It was an unidentified flying object. Fucking mouth. And, yeah, but see, I've never reported that because I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I've seen a few that, you could look at them and be like, all right, there is something odd there, but I don't know that it's necessarily alien in origin. It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll allow it could be in that direction. I do know that almost every single time that, the U.S. Air Force declassifies certain experiments they've done, it usually debunks a good chunk of them. But
right, yeah.
There was if I remember right, the F-117, the what's called the stealth fighter, but it's really a stealth bomber. That thing got so many sightings when they were testing it out in Nevada.
Well, not just that one, also the B-2. The B-2 is that triangle shape.
Yep. They're both triangular, actually. The 117 and the B-2.
Yeah.
One's small and one's large.
I think it's most likely the case that people were seeing the early development of that craft and mistaking it as a UFO alien craft. Or, you could go a little conspiracy theorist here, did they just get the idea of that from alien spacecraft?
Probably not.
Don't think so?
I don't think so.
No?
No, don't think so.
What about Bob Lazar's claims?
Who the hell is Bob Lazar?
You don't know who Bob Lazar is, and we're talking about aliens. Man, yeah. I need you to get on my level before we have this discussion again. You've done no research if you haven't heard of Bob Lazar.
I don't know, man. I've watched like a assload of shit on aliens in my lifetime, but it's not...
No, you're too busy looking at that
Lazar.
Alien Files, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but who the fuck's Bob Lazar?
Alright. Bob Lazar, he allegedly worked at not just Area 51, but a specific part of Area 51, which is S4. What that is, no idea. But he went on national television in the 80s, I believe it was the early 80s, and gave very detailed descriptions of what was there, what he worked on, and how it worked. And to this day, of course, no one has confirmed or disproven his claims, obviously. But there has been cases where, like, I think he had, he said that he had a degree from MIT, but they weren't able to find record of him going to MIT at all. And, you know, that typical will make you disappear idea, I guess. But yeah, he was basically the first Area 51 whistleblower. He talked about the craft that he was there to essentially reverse engineer. And he talked about how they moved through space. Not like space in outer space, but just space in general. Their propulsion system. It was basically like manipulating gravity.
I've actually heard the story. I just didn't know his name.
Okay.
I have heard all that, but I would have to do some research to see if anybody's like managed to debunk his claims now or not.
Oh, there's been loads of people saying that he was wrong, loads of people saying that he was right. It's just...
Yeah, I googled him really quick, and some people say that people who were really dead set on the UFO thing almost quote him like he's, gospel truth.
Yeah, there's definitely that going on. But the thing that I found interesting about him that made me want to pay attention to what he was saying is that he didn't seem like he was making it up. It seemed like he knew what he was talking about. And even to this day, despite losing his career and his reputation, he still says, yeah, that's what happened. I'm not changing my story. So he had nothing to gain for doing it except, I guess, attention. He had everything to lose and did lose damn near everything, including his family, because apparently him and his family were threatened. But he still, to this day, holds to that. He says, yeah, that is what happened. Seriously look into it, man, because it's even not to change your mind on anything. It's just an interesting topic. His case is really interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. See what I can see on the Bob Lazar thing.
All right. Well, I think we've abused these people's ears enough. Don't you think?
Yeah, this was a pretty. Hats off to anyone who could actually follow this fucking conversation.
If someone could illustrate like a tree on the different tangents we made.
Have you you've seen the Charlie Day meme from It's Always Sunny, right?
Yeah.
You actually look like explaining something. That's what I've got in my head for work.
That's so true. That's so true. I don't know. Maybe we can revisit this topic and have a more narrow field of topics.
Yeah, because it's a pretty spacey topic.
Jesus, don't start with the puns. You motherfucker and your puns. I literally just heard in the future people rolling their eyes at you.
Oh, there'll be a few for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, is there anything else you want to cover today? We don't have any Ask Anything questions for this episode.
Yeah, because our episode last week didn't go... it didn't go at all. So...
Yeah,
there was no episode to do Ask Anything on, so...
Yeah, our software glitched and it didn't record our entire conversation. So we actually, right before we got on today, I posted up sort of a mini episode that went over a little bit what we went over in the last episode. So yeah, no Ask Anything questions. So is there anything else you want to bring up besides that?
I had something, but I lost it. So we're going to go with no.
Motherfucker. When are you going to start writing down your thoughts?
Probably about the time I see an alien spaceship.
Even if we do see it, like if we see it on TV, aliens are here, would we believe it?
Well,
With all the bullshit that we've had to deal with, especially with the invention of the internet and what it entails, would we believe it if it was on CNN?
You do know one of the biggest conspiracy theories on kind of like false flags and stuff is that eventually some sort of gigantic false flag UFO thing will be done in an attempt to unify states and all sorts of shit.
Well, I think that's complete bullshit, but yeah, I mean, that alone shows that if it does happen, false flag is the American government.
Oh yeah, there's what I'm saying is there's people already prepared to disbelieve that if it were to happen. God. There's people who are literally already prepared to disbelieve it.
Man,
if they saw it on TV.
Man, we're stuck on this rock. We're never leaving.
Oh, we got a long way to go before we get off this. And we're probably going to die in the next 100 years from climate change, so hey, that's good.
Oh, shut up with your mouth.
Sixth mass extinction.
What?
The sixth mass extinction.
Oh, whatever. We ain't getting into that. Well, if there's nothing else you want to talk about, we'll go ahead and end it here. How about that?
Alrighty. Sounds good.
Cool. Well, if you liked our episode, give us a like, follow us on our Facebook page, our Twitter, and also our YouTube channel. Until next week, we'll see you later.
Don't get probed.
Don't get probed. Later, y'all.